Hey everybody, it's Mark again, and I hope everybody's doing great. I will get back to working on my clocks, hopefully soon. I woke up this morning, I have a crick in my neck, and I've been sitting at this chair ever since. And so I was thinking, because my mind is constantly doing that, how to identify certain cuckoo clocks. So this video is going to hopefully help you identify a cuckoo clock. And there are certain clocks out there, and I keep telling people they did not make clocks. They only sold clocks, such as George Cool. They bought, sold clocks. They went over to Germany. They were from Germany. They went to Germany. They would go around to all their friends and say, I want to buy this clock, I want to buy this clock, I want to buy this clock. And so those people would make clocks for them, and they wouldn't put their trademarks on the movements. And then the clock was disassembled. It was never put together. It was boxed up, crated, shipped to the United States, where George Cool would stamp their trademark on it. They would put it together, and they would sell it. And a lot of clocks were bought and sold that way due to duty tax. If you shipped a complete clock, you had to pay a higher duty tax than if the clock was disassembled, if at all. So clock makers like George Cool did not make clocks. So they are very sought after clocks, but they didn't make them. They only bought and sold clocks after they stamped their trademark on the movements or on the dial. Hecko, Henry Kohler, they did not make clocks. They bought and sold, or they were distributors to sell clocks. Sears and Robach, they did not make clocks. They bought and sold clocks. Seth Thomas did not make cuckoo clocks. They were in it for the money. They bought and sold cuckoo clocks. There was other companies. Gerbert Kuhner is one company that it's kind of confusing to me even. So they might be one of those companies that made clocks. Now the American Cuckoo Clock Company, you can read about this in the featured item of my group page. They had people who moved to the United States and made cuckoo clocks in the United States. But not everybody that has their name on a cuckoo clock made that clock. They bought, sold clocks. My group expert, and both of my groups, Valentin Weber, has sent me messages after messages, and he basically says that not just George Cool got away with the duty tax by doing that, by having the clocks disassembled and shipped to America, but several other places, and not just America, other countries like United Kingdom. They were boxed up and put together in different places. So hopefully this video is going to show you some of the key things that you can look for when looking at movements. Now, it's not going to be as accurate as I would love for it to be, because it is very possible. I'm going to show you some count wheels. It is very possible that even though this movement might say Hubert Herr on it, that Hubert Herr did not make this count wheel. There might have been somebody in their area and their only job was to make this count wheel. And Hubert Herr bought these count wheels off that person. You have to understand that to make each and every wheel in a movement, you have to set up your lathe differently. You have to set up your mill machine differently. Years ago, they didn't have the equipment that we have today. So if different people, in my personal beliefs, if different people didn't make different parts of this movement, you have to, it would take a very long time to make one clock, first of all, because you have to focus on making just one part, and then you got to focus on making a different part, and then you got to focus on making a different part. Where Regula, who is the trademark for Joseph Berker, who makes movements of today, I'm sure if I go into their factory, they've got a mill machine to make one part, and they might make that part over and over and over again until they got enough parts, or they have another mill machine to make a different part and another mill machine to make a different part. But way back then, not everybody could afford 50 different mill machines, or I'm guessing here, I don't know how many parts machines it takes to make a movement, but I'm just saying that I personally feel that it is very possible that one person's job, his only job, was to make the count wheel. And another person's job might have made the great wheels. So another person's jobs might have made just sit there and cast plate movements all day long. And I say job, I'm not saying the same maker, I'm saying different people spread throughout. Because you can watch YouTube videos today where this guy claims he makes cuckoo clocks. But in his YouTube video, he's traveling from point A and he picks up a part. And he goes to point B and he picks up another part. And he goes to point C and he picks up another part. And he travels around picking up all these parts, and he assembles the clocks. His wife paints the bird, and he claims that he makes that clock. No, he didn't. In my personal feelings, he assembled that clock. He didn't make that clock. Several people made that clock. So anyway, I hope this video helps. Please leave me some comments. Don't forget to subscribe, because it's free to do so. That's a joke, by the way. And let's get started. Again, the reason I'm doing this, if you have a clock that's stamped like GK, for example, you would like to know who made that clock. Again, GK did not make that clock. This is my Alexander Fleig movement. It says right there AF on it. I know for a fact it's an Alexander Fleig movement because it says AF on it right there. This is a weight-driven movement. There's a spring-driven movement that Alexander Fleig makes that has a silhouette of a house on it. I am working on this movement. It's had some issues. I had to remake a few things. Anyway, hopefully I'll get back to working on this movement and getting it fixed. But I had to remake this wire right here because it broke. And but look at this count wheel. It has a screw that goes into the count wheel to hold it on. The X's here are nice and smooth and straight. They are not fancy. But look at the movement itself. It has this crown here, and then there's a pointed section down here. You have to, I'm going to take pictures of these movements, and I'm in this video at the end, and I'm going to say this is the Alexander Fleig movement. And so you can compare your clocks to this video pictures, and hopefully it will help you out. This is a Hubert Herr cuckoo quail movement. You could tell it's a Hubert Herr, and this is the Hubert Herr made a couple different styles. This is the style that was made in the 50s. You could tell it's a Hubert Herr movement because of this three-piece count wheel here with the two pins and this flat metal here that hits those pins to trip for the cuckoo. And again, you can see the count wheel is screwed in. Look at the design of the count wheel. It says Hubert Herr right there on it, Freiburg, Germany. This is that 1904 railroad cuckoo clock. I got another video on it, and I show you that it's in that 1904 book, and in that book it says GK. And again, GK did not make clocks. This clock says DRGM, which is a patent. It has to do with a patent. This is the movement that has 4 nuts on it because you can work on the time side separately from the strike side. But look at the way this movement is designed. I wish they would have made more movements like this. That way you can work on things separately. But you see how fancy that count wheel is? We're going to show you some more fancy count wheels later. This, I'm not for sure who made it, but there's several different indicators in this movement as to help identify who made it if you came across a movement that had somebody's name on it that had the same information on it. But again, this thing was made in 1904, or at least it's in that 1904 book. It has the trapezoid bellows, etc. Another antique clock. It is made by Fowler and Son. And as you can see, the count wheel, again, it has straight edges on it. There's 4 holes in it. If I lift up this arm, I'm trying to do things. There you can see Fowler and Son. So you know exactly who made it. You see the the style of the movement. Again, I'm going to take pictures of this stuff and show you the name in the pictures at the end of this video. In case you have a movement that looks like this, then you know it was made by Baller and Son. Now, I seen an eBay posting today where somebody was advertising this clock as Beha, Sons of Beha, and it was a Baller clock. I do not know whether Baller is a son of Beha or not. I don't know. I do know this is an antique clock made in the late 1800s, early 1900s. You remember me just showing you this clock that I talked about that has the bore nuts on top and bore nuts on the bottom that you can take the movement apart separately, and it shows DRGM, meaning it's patent pending. Now this clock doesn't have those 4 nuts, however, it does have the exact same star hole at the bottom here. So I believe it was made by the exact same maker. And this is what the clock looks like in the front. It's one of those clocks that I've been working on, and I'm just too busy of a person to finish anything. But again, I personally feel it's made by the same person. Now this movement, as you can see, is a Schmeckenbecher, but it's a Cuckoo quail movement. It's one of those clocks that I had to order a part for, and I just have not got around to putting back together yet. But as you can see, it has this 3 metal piece here for the quail, the same thing as the Hubert Herr systems do. It takes a screw to put the count wheel in, and this is the count wheel for the quail, but this is the count wheel for the cuckoo. But as you can see, the different shapes, the holes that are in this movement. And it has a W, you can see the W, but it clearly says Schmeckenbecher right there on it. And it also has a removable burge assembly. Every clock I showed you so far, except for the very first clock, the Hubert Herr, the one that was made in the 1950s, it doesn't have the removable burge assembly. But this is a bridge. To undo this screw, you take that bridge off, and you can take the burge and crutch assembly out of the movement without disassembling the movement. Now this is the older Hubert Herr. The older antique cuckoo quail clocks, they only cuckoo, to my knowledge, on the hour, where that first one I showed you cuckoos on both the hour and the half hour. Now I want to show you something. Yes, I know this thing's dirty. I haven't cleaned it yet. I want you to look at this movement. Look at the count wheel for the quail. You see how it has 4 holes that are drilled out perfectly in a circle? Now look at the count wheel for the cuckoo. It has to me, those holes look like the comic Martian UFO alien head. That's what they look to me like. maybe a D, the letter D, drew all the way around 4 times. But this lever right here that trips the system, it's got a screw in it. It is in the middle of those 2 wheels. Now look at each and every cutout section. At the bottom here has a T. The top section looks like a oversized H. And of course it's a lyre movement because you could see the W again. But that's a Hubert Herr cuckoo quail movement. And this, if I was to estimate, I would have to get out my micrometer. Let me go ahead and do that. Stand by. The thickness of the plates are around 3.5 millimeters. If you watch my other video, I told you something like that is going to be made prior to World War I. So, again, this could be late 1800s, 1880 to 1910 clock because of the thickness of the plates. And not every antique cuckoo quail clock has got a double gong. This is the door for this clock. It's a single gong. I've got another cuckoo quail clock that has a double gong. The modern 1950s Hubert Herr cuckoo quail clock has got a single gong. This is one of my GK clocks. The only clock I'm going to take down. As you can see it shows GK. Look at the count wheel. It's kind of fancy. It's got the W again. So far, I have not seen a movement from any of my other clocks like this. But I've got a bunch of pictures that I saved on my computer, so I'm going to compare all these pictures to this movement and try to figure out who made it. I have a pretty good idea of who made it from the count wheel. You see the count wheel? You see how instead of having the D, it's more like a spaceship and 4 holes. Well, let me show you something. This is a picture I saved to my computer today. You see the name of that picture? It's a PHS, Phillip Haas Sohne. It's got the rabbit. You see the count wheel? Exact same count wheel as what I just showed you. And I have more PHS movements here. Let me get back to them. You see the rabbit? The rabbit is a trademark for Phillip Haas Sohne. You see the count wheel? Same count wheel. Okay, now that movement, of course, is different from my movement, and that's what I was saying earlier at the beginning of this video. It's very possible that one company made these count wheels, and somebody else made the plates, and somebody else made something else, and somebody else made something else. So, but this is a PHS movement. While it's fresh on your mind, this is a Sears and Robach movement. You see the count wheel? The count wheel's got that alien or D-shaped designed in it 4 different times. You see this quail count wheel? It's a perfectly drilled hole that is a circle 4 times. You see the H up here? I just got through showing you my Hubert Herr Cuckoo quail, the antique one. It has the same features as the Sears and Robach movement. Again, Sears and Robach did not make cuckoo clocks. They sold stuff. Another Sears and Robach cuckoo quail movement. It has the H, it has the 4 circles in it, it has the D shape on that count wheel, and of course the W showing it's a lyre movement. This is my video on my GK cuckoo quail clock, and so I'm trying to show you the movement here. On the cuckoo side. Stand by and I'm going to show you the movement. Due to the count wheel, the way it's shaped, due to the count wheel, this count wheel here is different. With the Hubert Herr one, I believe it had the perfectly circles in it. But this count wheel here, I can't tell whether that's the D or whether that's the UFO, so stand by. Let me get a better picture. I really don't want to pull that thing off the wall. This count wheel is the D, so it's not the PHS, that's the Hubert Herr count wheel. And this curved system here, I believe, was the Hubert Herr system also. And you can clearly see the H, and that's the way the Hubert Herr system in my antique cuckoo quail clock was. So if I was to guess on who made my antique cuckoo quail GK clock, I would say currently Hubert Herr. What I'm not seeing in this movement is the W. However, I know for a fact when this clock was made, it has, I know for a fact that that movement is around 3.5 millimeters in width, thickness, and the clock itself has made in Germany, Cool Clock Company, Chicago, Illinois, on the dial itself. And in accordance with the NAWCC, the only time that was made was 1908 or earlier. There are other clocks, Cheryl having one of them, where the inside of one of her doors says 1912. Whether that is a good date or not, the inside of a door, I can't answer that. My clocks don't have a date on the inside of the doors. I might have to take my stupid clock off the wall just to get a picture of the movement. I don't want to because of the location that it's in. Clock off the wall. If this is not worth a like and subscribe and leave comments, I don't know what is. And there is the movement. Again, there's no W in this movement, but the count wheel on both count wheels, both the quail and the cuckoo, has got the Martian head, or the D, and then the lever that trips the cuckoo is curved and it has a pin in it, where some of them have got a clip on them. and some of them are straight. This one's curved. 3.3, 3.5 thickness. Again, made prior to World War One. Says GK right down here. It has the H here. Again, so far, if I was to guess, I would say it was Hubert Herr. I want you to follow me and see why I deserve a like and subscribe. You see my floor? This deep freeze leaked. It ruined my floor. I have to replace the floor. I'm not worried about my floor right now. I'm trying to become debt-free. I'll be debt-free at the end of this year. Next year, I replaced my floor. But to get to that clock, I have to climb, listen really close. You see that giving? That's where that clock is. So if that don't deserve a like and subscribe, then I don't know what does. Here's another clock. It's extremely old, made in the late 1800s, early 1900s, trapezoid bellows. It's a Cuckoo clock. You see the count wheel? You see the shape of the holes of the count wheel? Remember, it's got the spaceship type count wheel, and that is typical for a PHS on the other clocks, but there's no running rabbit trademark. There's no markings on this clock. So again, that's why I say, but there's a U in this one. It's kind of like a lyre movement, but more research to do on this clock. Now, one of my group members used to have this PHS boxing grapes Cuckoo quail clock. Of course, that's the case. And here is the movement. Let me show you the front of the movement first. Here's the front of the movement. Typical wire that is tripped from the pins on this wheel. It has the rabbit right here for the trademark. Now the rear of the movement. Now let me zoom in on this. Again, there's the rabbit for the trademark. It's a pinned movement. It has it has a wire right here that holds the count wheel on this Cuckoo count wheel. It has the spaceship holes. It has this lever. The count wheel for the quail is this leaf, just like in the other movement that we talked about, the damn Weidel movement that we talked about. This little piece right here. It has a straight arm that comes over. It's not a metal tab, metal width of like the Hubert Herr's. It's a wire that comes off this wheel. The pins on this wheel raises that wire, which in turn raises this lever out of the count wheel to make the cuckoo. And I imagine it's only going to cuckoo on the hour. So it's different from what I thought it would be because of the wire that holds the count wheel on, and because of the wire that this section right here is. And this is the second movement that I found that has this. This next movement is from another guy brand new to my group pages, this is a PHS clock. Here's the rabbit. Same system. The leaf, the wire, the count wheel that has the spaceship style holes in it. And here's the wire that holds the count wheel on. He just, for whatever reason, don't have it on in this picture. And so, and of course, it's a pinned movement. And so, my buddy's clock that he got, the thing that is, it's kind of a combination of a few makers, and let's find it. But let me show you something else. Stand by. This American Cuckoo Clock Company. And this video is longer than what I wanted it to be, but that's just life. Here's what the clock looks like. It's a beautiful clock. Here's how you know it's American Cuckoo Clock Company, because this label right here, and this label says American Cuckoo Clock Company, Philadelphia. Here's the movement, American Cuckoo Clock Company movement. And if you look, this movement looks just like Hubert Herr. A lot of the same features in the Hubert Herr. It's a lyre movement with the W. It's got this wheel right here that has the, well, I take that back. It's got this lever right here, this curved arm that trips the, from the quail to the cuckoo, but the wheels, that wheel looks like a Alexander Fleig wheel, and this wheel over here looks like an Alexander Fleig wheel. But the information that I read on the American Cuckoo Clock Company showed that people from Germany came to the United States and built cuckoo clocks. Another one of my group members bought this clock, and he asked some questions that hasn't been answered yet. But this is the front of the movement, and this is the rear of the movement. This is, again, a cuckoo quail movement. Just a totally different setup than everything else. The count wheel looks like the Phillip Haas Sohne's count wheel on the cuckoo side. On the quail side, it looks like maybe I forget which one that was. It's not this. It's the alien's head, which is the Hubert Herr's cuckoo count wheel design. But what I like about this movement, this has got an M right here. Mem for Mark Mutterland. And a V down here. It's got the curved section to just like the Hubert Herr's, but it's not a Hubert Herr movement, I do not believe. Unknown movement, it's in my unknown movement folder. I have this in both of my groups in the featured items, and it says at the bottom of this link you will find some history on the American Cuckoo Clock Company. So let's go to it. So I'm going to read it to you again. I'm sorry this is going to be a long video. The American Cuckoo Clock Company was based in Philadelphia. There's not too much reliable information about the company that I've been able to find online, so I pieced together their history from old articles and advertisements. They were in business from 1895 through 1960s or 70s. They imported movements and bellows from the Black Forest region of Germany and housed them in rustic wood cases like these, made in Philadelphia. So they made the cases, but they imported the movements. The American Cuckoo Clock Company began in 1877 as Bredinger and Kuntz, a partnership of Louis Bredinger and Gustav Kuntz, American jeweler, 1 March 1905. The company was a generic watch and clock importing and jobbing businesses. The partners were also family. Bredinger was married to Kunz's daughter. Both men were immigrants from Wittenberg, Germany. And there's a picture of Lewis, 1841 to 1904. In 1895, they purchased the Boss's company's stock of cuckoo clocks, bringing Charles Boss on board as partner for a newly formed American cuckoo clock company. That was in 1895, people. That's important. Kunz continued to focus on the general watch and clock businesses until his death in 1899. And the other two guys focused on the new cuckoo clock business. The company's first factory is located on 9th Street in Philadelphia in 2 blocks. They relocated a new building in Fairmount Avenue, Randolph, and 5th Street sometime around 1900. Advertised for companies' cuckoo clocks, placing an emphasis on their domestic manufacture, and add in the November 1st, 1904 issue of American Jewelry Dispatch imported cuckoo clocks, implying that it is all but impossible to have import repaired. The man who made them in Germany knew they were never coming back. The ad also emphasized their ability to restock the retailer's store within a couple of days, ensuring that they would be able to fill the Christmas orders. In other words, they were putting them down. The primary market of the cuckoo clock seemed to have been Christmas gifts. As an advertisement, September 1st, 1902, issue of American Jewelry stated that a retail jeweler in Philadelphia who sells between half a dozen cuckoo clocks daily on year-round, and during Christmas holidays, his sales averaged 50 a day. The American cuckoo clock business was incorporated in 1905 following the death of Lewis in 1904. Lewis, his son, was president and general manager. Charles Boss was vice president, and Henry Borchers, son-in-law of Gustav Kuntz, was treasurer, and H.B. Stutzer was secretary. The widows of Louis Bredinger and Gustav Kuntz, Julia Bredinger and Regina Kuntz were the principal stockholders. American Jewelry, 1 March 1905. Julia was actively involved in the Philadelphia clock and jewelry business, principal owner of the family business and jewelry business, Bredinger and Sons, at the time of her death, October 1913. The company gained rapidly, and during the first decade of the 20th, sales offices were established in Brooklyn. In 1911, the president and general manager of the American Cuckoo Clock, Lewis, invented a power break for the Philadelphia factory. In July 1911, the device allowed the entire department machinery to be shut down within 5 seconds. That's pretty cool right there. He was inspired by the horrible factory accident he had read about at other factories. He improved the existing factory breaks by making them impossible for anyone, making it possible for anyone at any location to activate the shutdown. In 1913, they began supplying movement styles and amateur case materials. There apparently was large demand for amateur and jewelers who prepared to make their own cases. The company even published a set of blueprints for DIY cuckoo clock cases in 1916. In 1924, questions section of the Information Bureau of American Jewelers noted that the repair of cuckoo clock bellows usually involved buying replacement bellows rather than attempting to repair the leather. The article was noted that the American Cuckoo Clock Company was owned by Bredinger and Sons in Philadelphia. In 1968, article in Wall Street hinted at the demise of the American Cuckoo Clock Company. Charles, whatever the heck his name is, the last remaining employee, mournfully noted that the young people today had no interest in cuckoo clocks. According to the article, the company stopped manufacturing cuckoo clocks around 1948, focusing instead on repairing clocks. He was also quoted as stating that few years ago we had 18 people here. Now it dwindled down to just little old me. And when I go, that's it. He died in 1978. In 1946, classified ad of the New York Times posted that the company's Brooklyn office also hints at the demise of American Cuckoo clock manufacturer of the clock. I will leave this article in the description of this video, but there's some really good information. Again, they bought the movements from Germany, so, but they made the cases. So technically they made the clocks. However, where are these movements from? Again, with this, the way it's designed, I would say Phillip Haas and Son. It's got the W for the lyre movement. It's got the birch that you take off. The count wheel is screwed on. And here's the Cuckoo quail. It's got the same arm as the Hubert Herr. It's got the movement itself. It says it's stamped West Germany. That could be a bunch of things, but what do you all think? Now I'm going through my pictures that I have, and I know if I titled them, I know it's, in this case, a PHS quail clock, and I've got other pictures. But you will see there's not a rabbit, which was, the running rabbit was their trademark. And so they didn't always use the running rabbit. This particular clock, let me see if I can get to it. This is the clock. And somebody said that, here it is, PHS clock number 4821. And again, it's a PHS clock. That looks exactly like that. Other than it's a stupid black and white picture, which you can't really see a lot. And this is the movement for that clock, and there's not a running rabbit on this movement. So they didn't always use a running rabbit unless somebody swapped this bridge out. This is called a bridge, and that holds the bridge assembly. Somebody might have swapped this bridge out in this particular clock, and they didn't feel like making a rabbit. So anyway, I still have a lot to discuss in the video, so there will be a part 2. I'm trying to get. I was wanting to post this video over the weekend, but there's a lot of pictures that I don't have. PHS Cuckoo quail clocks. I have 2 pictures of PHS Cuckoo quail clocks, and I'll show that in the second part of this video, but I'm wanting more than 2 pictures. And some people in my groups, they have PHS clocks. PHS clocks are really expensive clocks. They're very sought after clocks. Phillip Haas Sohne, but I don't have any, and so eBay, Shop Goodwill, other sites, they only keep their pictures up for so long, and then they take them off. I tried going to the archive database, the webpage. I can't find it. I got a friend who told me about the archive database. He can't find it. So anyway, I just told him not to worry about it. I got people, but I got to wait until Monday before I can get pictures. So there will be a part 2 to this video. Please, 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 leave me some comments. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. And let me know what you think of this video. Is this guaranteed information? No, it's not. And I told you from the beginning of this video that I personally feel that it is possible that maybe somebody in that town made the plates, cast the plates. Maybe somebody in that town cast the wheels, made the wheels, and then you go to a different town because cuckoo clocks were made throughout the Black Forest in different towns, and there might have been a couple of families casting plates. There might have been a couple of families making gears and parts and stuff. So there's a lot of guesswork here, but it gives you a better idea of who possibly made your George Cool cuckoo clock, or who possibly made your Sears and Robach cuckoo clock. Again, George Cool did not make any cuckoo clocks. They bought and sold cuckoo clocks. Sears and Robach did not make any cuckoo clocks. They bought and sold cuckoo clocks. And so, and a few other companies. So, anyway, give me a thumbs up. May God bless each and every one of you. You can go to clockhistory.com, and they have a lot of books out there. This is a catalog for 1950. The very front cover of this catalog says Henry Kohler Company and Corporation. They were based out in New York. It says right here, and I think this misleads people, it says manufacturers and importer of the Heco clocks. They were in New York. They sold cuckoo clocks. They didn't make cuckoo clocks. Johans, sales agent for the USA of the famous Johans clocks. Johans. I believe that most of their clocks were Johann-based clock. Hey everybody, I hope everybody's enjoying this video. I'm sorry there's going to have to be a part 2. I'm editing my video right now, and I'm already at 48 minutes, and just one video clip that I still have to put in is 33 minutes long. There's a lot that I'm trying to explain. There's a lot that I hope I'm doing a good job at showing y'all what I'm trying to get my point across is there's I've always said from the very beginning that unless you have documented proof of who the maker was, when it was made, there can be questions, or there could be doubts as to who made it, when it was made, and that's why trademarks is very important. Names are very important. Trademark databases are very important, like Microlisk trademark database. A lot of times it'll show you when the trademark was established, and for a company that was in business for a long time, they'll change their trademarks along the way. And so this trademark was established here. A few years down the road, they established this trademark. Or like with French clocks, they won this medallion and they would put it on the movement saying they won the medallion during this time frame. And so and then a few years down the road, they won a different medallion, so they would put that medallion on the movement, and which helps people out. And I always say all the time that I feel that the people are up in heaven who made these clocks saying, maybe we should have signed the movements and dated the movements as to when this clock was made and who made the clock. And the whole point of this is just to try to explain that not every clockmaker, I take that back, not every signature on a clock was made by that clock. They sold that clock. Again, Hecko, they didn't sell any clocks. They were in a contract to sell clocks for a company. And while editing this video, I'll look it up and tell you which company it was.